Hello and welcome to Rockies Recap, a part of the Rockies Now podcast network. My name is Steven. Right there is the co-host Tom. Tom, how are you doing?
Pretty good. It was a pretty productive holiday weekend for me. Also relaxing. Just got a lot done around my house.
hmm
And hey, we have lo and behold, we have Rymac as a first-time All-Star.
There we go. There we go. Yeah. Wish everybody had a great 4th of July holiday. I know mine was great. Of course, I know some of you noticed that we didn't do a Brewers Rocky series recap. We just decided, I guess, we didn't really say it, but we kind of decided to have a break, I guess, because it was busy. And actually, I didn't tell Tom this in our pregame, I guess, meeting before the show tonight. We actually had people come paint a little bit inside our house, so we had to move some stuff around. My setup had to change a little bit, as you can see. So the paint is drying. Life is good. The Rockies, they got a series split against the Brewers. That was nice. They had a nice 4th of July win, and then nice first two games against the Royals, which we'll talk about in just a second. But what we want to start off today is Ryan McMahon is an All-Star finally. I feel like this has been due for a long, long time, and it's just I'm happy for Mac. I really am, and it's just again, it's really great to see that Major League Baseball, has finally looked at Mac, like looked at his video, looked at his stats, and say he's an all-star. Because there's so many good third basemen in baseball. But this year it's really been Bohm and Mac that has been leading the charge in the National League. Mac and Bohm have been leading a lot of the stats offensively and even defensively. Mac is one of the best third basemen in baseball. So happy for Mac. He definitely deserves it, and I'm just excited that he's going to be able to play in the All-Star game in Texas next week. So that'll be fun.
It's also good to recognize that MLB still buys the fact is that even when a player reaches a top ranking in voting,
Mm.
when he does not put up the performance metrics that qualifies him to be an all-star, he does not make it. Yes, that's right, Manny Machado. I'm talking about you. No. Sorry, I harp on Manny Machado, but I'm sorry, Padres fans. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be mean here, but your guy just should not be in the All-Star game.
He's
He
not
is
sorry.
clearly not playing up to what he is being paid. People
Yeah.
talk about overpaying. Well, Padres fans, again, I'm sorry. Your team is going to be regretting this contract. I would say in a couple of years, I would say 3 years, you have at most to get some decently productive years out of him.
Mm.
But after that, it's going to be money burning on the books. So basically, you might as well just let the new ownership people who are in charge with of the Padres, you might as well just light all that money on fire. So
hmm Yeah.
just sorry, not to be kind of coarse, but it's true. But anyway, but it's good for Rymac.
Mm.
Again, Alec Boehm, no question, should be the starting third baseman. He is having a fantastic year, and he is going to be in the home run derby. So we'll see how he does there.
Mm.
But for Max specifically, this is kind of more a year where I mean, again, I've talked about it on previous podcasts where we've done our position evals, most recently earlier in the season when we reviewed the infielders. Mac has put up consistent production in terms of his slash line, home runs, RBIs, kind of, a somewhat of a range when it comes to strikeouts and walks over the since 2019 when he became an everyday player. But this year he has really taken a step up in terms of all those categories across the board. I mean, let's just say he has more. Here's an example. He right now has 39 walks, and last year he had 68. So he's on pace to be his best last year's totals in walks. He also is at pace to potentially have fewer strikeouts than he did last year. And his slash line is a big step up. Last year, he had a slash line of 240, 322, 431, and a 90 and an OPS plus of 94. This year, this is his real quick 272, 349, 456 currently. And this is right now his first year where he has an OPS plus over 100. Again, for people who know what that is, that's a park adjusted statistic that measures your OPS. For your OPS, and 100 is considered league average. This is his first year where he is actually right now over league average, which is great. And also he is at pace to potentially have his first 30 home run season this year. So that, and also he's a little, I think he's 1 or 2 RBIs behind quote unquote pace, but he could make the big push for 100 RBIs as well. So again, it's a well-earned honor. Congratulations to him. He is going to make it in the game at some point, probably, I would say. Again, pending how they divvy up playing time, we could see Rymax sometime, I would say, in at least the fifth inning.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I feel like a lot of all-star games will see guys come in the fourth, fifth inning. Usually, I feel
Mm.
like back in the day, guys used to go 2, 3 innings at the most. Now it's 4, 5 innings. But it's just again, it's great to see Matt going, and he's going to get plenty of light on him, if that's the phrase or if that's the word, at the All Star game. I'm excited to see him on Intentional Talk, MLB Network, that sort of thing. Um, will we see anybody in the home run derby for the Rockies? I don't think so. It would be cool, but there's not really any candidates that really stick out to me. I mean, Charlie's done it once. I mean, Mac maybe, but he's not more of a guy that you would see in a home run derby. But I don't know. It's just I'm curious to see what the home runs derby is going to be like, because of course we talked about it before we went live, and of course Pete Alonso, he's going to be back in there. I think he's going to be a favorite for a lot of people. And I was telling Tom that last year and I think the year before that, and even going back to 2019, I predicted every single year for Pete Alonso to win. And over the last couple of years, he's not done it well at all. And so this year, I'm not going to pick Pete Alonso. I'm going to pick somebody else, and I'm not going to pick Alec Boehm because he just doesn't seem like a guy that's going to win a home run derby. So we'll see. I mean, I think there's still a few more slots open for guys to join the home run derby. So I'm curious to see if anybody accepts it. Of course, people are going to accept it. I'm just curious to see if there's going to be anybody, maybe in the National League West. Of course, no Rockies. Be fun, but I don't know. Maybe Trevor Story, but again, he's injured. So that's a bummer. So
Oh, yeah. Well, with Rymax 14 home runs, he leads the team, so that
yeah.
doesn't even crack him in the top 25 in all of baseball. I think I'm wondering right now, the game is in Arlington. The one home player, Adolis Garcia, is the only Ranger that is in the top 25. He is in a three-way tie for 23rd
Mm,
at 16 home runs. So maybe I think again, I know baseball tries to get one hometown player in the Derby, so that's their best chance.
mm,
So again, we'll see. There's a couple guys here on this top 25 list that are injured. Like, or maybe who knows? Maybe they'll do the further south Texas rival. Jordan Alvarez might make it in.
yeah. I wouldn't be
Uh,
surprised by that.
but I'm really looking forward to seeing the polar bear try and capture his third title.
Yeah, but there's a lot of haters already on social media. I've already seen so many today. So I'm not, I'm not upset. I just because I don't think I bet any money over the last couple years because I'm not a betting person,
Mm.
and I don't, like, and, I don't really recommend people to bet. But if you want to bet, don't bet Pete Alonso because I just feel like he's like, okay, 2019, 2021, great years, right? But just LA, and then last year didn't perform. Well, did he play last year in the home run derby?
He did, but he was out in the first round. I can't remember who he
Yeah,
lost to. If you give me a
yeah,
second, I can look it up. But I
yeah.
remember he and his original pitching who was going to pitch to him had to back out for some reason. I think he was sick or whatever, so he had
Mm,
to give a quick replacement
yeah.
for one of his someone else he knows,
Mm,
and they just never got in sync.
mm,
If I remember correctly, let me just double check who he lost. So I
yeah,
can't
yeah.
for the life of me, I cannot remember. But all I know is he and of course my guy Luis Robert. He had a kind of an iffy showing as well. So
Mm, yeah.
real quick, let me see. I got the page here. He lost to oh yeah, Julio Rodriguez,
The
who
hometown
hit
kid. Yeah,
41 in that round, and
that
Pete
was
Alonso
crazy. And I
hit
remember last year Rushman had a really good round too. Didn't he hit
uh,
one on the right side? Like he switched. Didn't he
uh
switch? You remember that?
you're right, he flip-flopped.
That was awesome.
He hit most of them from the left side, and then he switched to the right side to try and hit one, and he
Yeah.
lost by one to Luis Roberts.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
that was so much fun, and I remember the crowd was super into it. That was crazy because you don't really see that a whole lot in the home run derbies. Like you don't see a switch hitter going to the left side, right side. I don't know. That was just fun. Um,
Yeah, but the
and
last year's
Vladdy won last year though, right? Yeah,
correct. Yes, he beat
Vladdy.
Randy
Yeah,
Rosarena in the final.
yeah. That was a nice finale. I thought Randy was gonna win it, but then you have Vladdy. He was on another level last year, but home runs derby is going to be fun, and of course, so again, congratulations to Rymac. Um, really excited to see him in the All Star game. So happy for Rymac there. Quick announcement before we uh, get into the recap. So next Sunday, Tom and I we're going to be going live right here on YouTube X, and I think we might be we might try to go on Instagram, even though Instagram can be a little bit tricky, and I think we've had times where Instagram doesn't work for our streams, which is kind of a bummer. But we're going to go live. Like all your streaming platforms next week, next Sunday, because next Sunday is the draft. Yay! Insert crowd noise. So we're gonna have fun, and we talked about this a little bit. We kind of debated whether we should, go first full round, all like the entire first round, but that would take a long, long time, like multiple hours, because the draft just moves slowly. But what we're gonna do the first 5 to 10 picks or so, somewhere around there. I think originally we are gonna do the top 5, but I'm kind of curious to see what the other teams behind the Rockies do.
Mhm.
So, and there's some nice players in the top 10, so we're gonna do that. So again, catch us live right here wherever you're at watching at. So yeah, make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for next Sunday. And I think I want to say the draft is it 3 or 4 Mountain Time?
Let me double check.
Yeah. But anyways, just check it up. And yeah, make sure you subscribe, follow us, rate us on your social media pages and your YouTubes and your Twitters, now called X. But it's gonna be fun. So I'm curious because there's gonna be times. I was just thinking about this today. There's gonna be times next week. It might be a little bit more awkward because there might be a lot of times where it's silence, and that will be me because I'm like texting or like working on a post because like right now it's just Tom and me running the whole thing, and I'm like usually the guy that posts stuff. And so if I'm silent for most of the video on Sunday, just know that I'm posting on social media because like there's so much to post when the Rockies pick at number 3. So it's gonna be fun. But yeah,
The
just it's gonna be awesome.
the preview show starts at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, and 4 p.m. Mountain Time.
Okay.
And the official draft will start. The festivities will begin an hour later, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, and 5 p.m. Mountain Time.
Okay. Yeah. So it's a little bit earlier than past years, which is really
Mhm.
convenient for a lot of us, especially for me, because I just don't like drafts that are around supper time, 8 o'clock. I just, no. I like afternoon drafts. So that's going to be awesome. So make sure you tune in for that. Getting started with our recap, we're going to kind of go quickly tonight. So game 1, the Rockies won 4-2. Kyle Freeland, man, he's ever since he's come back, he's been solid. He's been great. Strikeout numbers are pretty good. I mean, he's not a strikeout pitcher. Of course, early in his career, he was getting a little bit more strikeouts, but ever since he's gotten back from his injury, he's been great. The Royals, they were kind of scuffling coming into this series, even though they had a pretty good record. I think they lost the series to the Guardians. If not, even I think they might even got swept. But I know that they lost the series to the Guardians. But game 1 was great. I think Bretton Doyle, I think that's when he got his home run off the foul
Mhm.
pole, which
Mhm.
originally I think the Royals challenged it, and actually it was a home run because some people thought, oh, that was out of play, but no, it was a home run. Doyle, he's been hot, so that was great to see. Game 2, Rockies won 3. It was a close game. Really good outing for Austin Gomber, one of his best outings of the year. Pitched 7 innings, only gave up 1 run. That was a home run, I believe. And yeah, Gomber, he's been great this year. ERA is not bad at all. I mean, last year it was pretty difficult. Gomber was just frustrated last year. I remember the first half was it really was rough on him, and he's just improved leaps and bounds this year by just commanding the zone, getting through 6, 7 innings, almost every single outing, really. So that's been great. One of the best Rockies started this year. Again, not a lot of offense for the Rockies in the first 2 games here, and even in the entire series, not a lot of offense. But the Rockies came through, able to score some runs. With home runs from Britton Doyle. Again, he got a home run in game 2, I believe. Home run, I believe, to into the bullpen. So he's been on a tear, absolute tear. That's been great. And there were even some questioning about maybe he's going to be an all-star. Could he be a late all-star ad? But with now the all-star lineups out and reserves out, most likely not. I mean, there's always a possibility where there's an emergency backup situation. But Doyle, he's been looking really good. One of the best center fielders in the game this year, defensively and offensively. Again, he made a great catch, and I think we might even talked about that in the last recap we did for the White Sox series. And then today, Tanner Gordon, he got his first start. Dakota Hudson, hats off to him. But he got DFA'd. I feel like his time came to an end. He really was struggling with the Rockies. He had some nice starts, and there were a lot of starts where I feel like he just didn't get a lot of support from the Rockies offense. But the record shows itself. The ERA not too great. Ground ball pitcher, but it just the Rockies they're heading into what you call a youth movement, and so they want to see what they have in Tanner Gordon. And plus, not only that, it's not they're going to completely replace Hudson with Gordon. They're I think they're using Gordon as a guy just for 1 or 2 starts before Marquez comes back in the next series or two. So Gordon, he pitched I believe 6 1/3 innings. He actually looked pretty good, other than that second inning where he gave up 4 runs and then a run in the sixth inning. Gave up 2 home runs, but he had 4 strikeouts. Not to mention his first 2 at bats were strikeouts. That was nuts. That was great. That was great to see. It was nice to see his family celebrate. That was awesome. Uh, so yeah, I mean, he was commanding the zone, and we were talking before we started. He was throwing strikes, man. I mean, 60 plus strikes and 70 pitches. I mean, strikeout rate over, I believe, 84% today. It was just he was commanding the zone perfectly today, and he didn't look really nervous at all today. He looked like he's been out there before. And by the way, Tanner Gordon came in the Pierce Johnson trade last year, along with Victor Vodnik, who got his first career save in Game 2. So that was nice. And as you know, Vodnik is Tom's guy. I need to find my guy. I guess Justin Lawrence is my guy. He just hasn't had a good year this year. But yeah, the Royals they got to life against the Rockies bullpen against Ty Block and Justin Lawrence today. 10-1, but it wasn't one of those games. It's just like, oh, this is the worst. Like, no, it was just like, you know what? The Rockies, they're playing their young kids. Aaron Shunk, by the way, congratulations, got his first hit today. So that was nice to see. But it's a youth movement coming into Colorado, so we're okay with it. We already knew, we talked so many times, like almost every single recap, how this season has not been super surprising because we already knew that this year was going to be a pretty rough year for our Rockies. But it's nice to see like guys like Tanner Gordon and Aaron Shunk get their first knocks, get their first strikeouts, and it was a good series. The Rockies won a series. I mean, against the Royals, who are a playoff contending team, they split a series against the Brewers, who are leading the National League Central. So the Rockies, they've been playing good baseball over the last week, and so we'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, you consider in the last 7 games, they have a winning record, 4-3.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll take that any
Yeah.
day of the week. So I
Yeah.
think in this series specifically, when you point out the pitching, not only should we be happy we have back-to-back quality starts from Freeland and Gomber, but we had 3 starters that went over 6 innings pitched in each of the 3 games. That's huge. Last year, we would be praying and hoping for just to get 2 of those back to in the series, and now we're getting so I tried to look it up, but I couldn't find it. Who leads the team in quality starts this year? But I'll have to check. But since he's come back, Kyle Freeland, 3 consecutive quality starts, June 23rd, 30th, and now Friday's game, the 5th. 3 quality starts. I mean, I don't want to, knock on wood there. I don't want to jinx him or anything like that. But I think he's pitching with, I could say, bad intentions. I think I said that in our last recap when he started. I believe I said that. But he looks like a man just laser focused on the mound. And I gotta say, on yesterday's game, Gomber, after the 7th inning coming off the line, let's go. I love the intensity, especially because I think that was the second big jam he had to get out of in the game. So great on him. And I think it was early in the 7th. It might have been the first jam when Doyle made an amazing catch, or probably was the Jake Cave catch that was. Well, either way, that was critical.
Yeah.
That's putting
that
your
was great. Yeah.
that's putting your body on the line. So, and again, like you said, Victor Vodnik, my guy, first career save. And I can't recall who said it. One of our followers brought up Victor Vodnik closer ?
Yeah.
Maybe give him the chance now. I mean, why not? Why not?
Yeah, I mean, this bullpen's been struggling. Arguably the worst bullpen. Like I saw a stat, it was weird. Like 2020 Rockies bullpen was historically bad. I think it was like the worst ever in the baseball era. Then there was like the Phillies, like the old Phillies bad teams when the Phillies were like horrible. This was back in the 1950s, 60s era. And then there was in fourth place was the 2026, no, 26, 2024. We're like the Rockies. They're gonna have a bad bullpen in 2 years. Don't hopefully not. But 2024 Rockies. There we go. But yeah, the Rockies, they've had a historically bad bullpen this year. But why not? Like you said, I mean, give Bonick a chance. Now, I will say this again. I've quoted this before, but I do agree with Evan Lang, who does a great job at Purple Row and Rocky Mountain Rooftop. Great stuff over there, along with Skylar Timmons. But they were talking about Victor Vonick and how he can be overused at times, and I definitely do
Mm.
agree. You don't want to overuse guys. I feel like Jake Bird got overused last year a little bit, and unfortunately he's injured now. And of course, I don't think being overused is part of the issue. He just got injured. But yeah, I just don't want Vodnik to get overused to where he has to pitch every 2, 3 game, like, back to back. You need to get your guys some rest. And it's nice to see that, our starters are getting good starts, especially in the series at home, course field. I'd rather have a blow up game where you have to use your bullpen on the road, where at home at course field, oh man, that you're asking for trouble.
Mm.
So, but Vodnik, again, great to see. But
Mm.
again, another Rockies series win, and actually, I think out of the Brewers series, they won game 4, and then they won the first 2. That was 3 straight, and I think that's just the second time this year that the Rockies
Mm.
have won 3 consecutive games. And of course, we remember, excuse me, back in was it May when they won 7 straight? I think it was May.
Mid late May. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, it's weird to think that the Rockies had a above 500 month in May, and so I mean, June was bad. We all know that, but July has been a little bit better for the Rockies, so that's
And
something to hang your hat on.
real quick, a couple notable offensive performances I wanted to point out. Game 1, Bretton Doyle going 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs was pretty,
Mm,
and a walk. He almost had 100% on base for that game, you could say.
mm,
And then another one here in game 2, what was it? He went 1 for 2. Of course, he did have that. Was it the home run? Yeah, that was the home run. But he got 2 walks. So in this series, he had those 3 walks in 2 games. It's nice to see. Not only is he squaring the ball up better, making more better contact, but he's actually got a better eye for the strike zone this year. Because I think you commented on it a lot. He needs to work on not getting slider to death out of the
yeah,
zone. It's a night and day difference between this year and last year. And lastly, of course, Saturday's game, Rymack 3 for 3 with a walk. Awesome job.
yeah, and I think he needed that because I think Rockies TV announcer Drew Goodman was saying during the Brewers series that the Mac is like one of his worst teams he hates facing, and statistically he's never been good against was the Brewers. Like he's been horrible against the Brewers in his career, and for Mac to kind of get some hits in this Royals series, he needed that. And it might have given him an extra push by MLB to vote him in, and but not only MLB, but I think coaches and players around baseball, you kind of vote in, the reserve players. And so I think because here's the thing, like again, like you look at the fan voting, we'll go back to it. Machado, there's no way he should not be second in fan voting. Like I'm sorry, but we've said this before on our social media pages and maybe even on the stream here. It's a popularity show. Like nobody outside of Colorado knows Ryan McMahon. Like who? Like maybe a few people other than other fan bases, but Mac deserved this way more than Machado. And it's just facts. Sorry, but people need to know the facts. And Mac, he's been having an all-star year, and I think he deserves it. But yeah, it just yeah,
No, it's a well-earned honor. He has worked his butt off in terms
yeah,
of, I harken back to when he was when he played his first full season, not necessarily when he was a rookie, but 2019, he played second base because again, you had Story. Well, again, he's not a shortstop, but you had Nolan at third, and then of course you had newly signed Daniel Murphy playing first base.
hmm,
So there wasn't so to break him into lineup, he had to play a position that he's not.
yeah,
He has experience at, but not
yeah.
a lot. That's not his go-to position.
Thanks, Jeff
So,
Bridich.
well, not only that, remember we can thank him also for the Ian Desmond thing too.
Yeah, yeah, and thank him for there was a move that yeah, it was Montero. Like, listen, we'll talk very quickly because we got to wrap this thing up. But Alan Trejo and Elias Montero over this past week they got DFA'd by the Rockies. Alan Trejo, he signed a minor league deal with the Dodgers. Don't like that, but happy for Trejo. He'll be able to you know go to a different organization that has good success. But I think
Mhm,
he's going to be in AAA, and I don't really see him going to the big league roster unless there's a massive injury. But and then Montero, he got DFA'd, but he's back in the organization. There was always that possibility that team picks him up, but with guys like Trejo and Montero, nobody's going to pick up those guys because of how poor they've performed over the last few years. Montero has the higher value, but still, it's not really tradable the way he was. Negative 1.3 WAR this year. That's not really good, hardly any value. But I love Montero, but again, like the Rockies, we're harking back to the Arenado trade. The Rockies should have gotten more, if not better, in that trade. And again, just a reminder, like, and somebody was saying that, when we DFA'd Montero, does this mean that we actually lost the trade? And I'm like, thanks, Jeff Bridich. Or Jeff Bridich is smiling somewhere in a corner, of his house. And so, I don't know. But, we love Montero, but it just, we'll go back to it. It wasn't the greatest trades of all time. We'll just say that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is crazy you have 3 players DFA'd in the matter of 1 week, but
Yeah.
again, it's like I said, it's a bit of a youth movement, and when you have young guys down in the minor league saying, "Hey, I like a chance, give me a chance," and
Mm,
not just I don't wanna call anybody expendable, but at this point, they're the guys we DFA where you could see somewhat
yeah.
expendable,
Yeah.
and again, I don't wanna be mean, I don't like wishing harp on anyone because I can't do the job that they do, I'm not qualified to do what they do
Yeah.
playing
But we
professional
saw it
baseball.
coming. We saw it coming.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
Hudson was signed to be a guy to potentially eat up innings and maybe be a guy you could flip at the deadline if he turned things around. Didn't work out that way, and it's understandable. Those things happen, even though the intentions were good, given that he's a primarily a sinker ball pitcher and a two
Mm,
seam fastball with a changeup, but just didn't work out. And like I said, Montero, he got his ample opportunities and just Toglia one said, "Hey,
mm,
I'm a better option," and he's proving it. Even though, and of course, his last line is a little low due to the fact that he had a really bad start when he was up here not playing every day. So, but now that he's playing every day, he's getting more of a rhythm. So he's going
right.
to get the ultimate chance. And Chris Bryant taking infield practice doesn't really thread the needle for me. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we say this every single time. Fingers crossed. Can this work sometime? Like, can this work just this one time? It's just that he's been so incredibly lucky. Like the collision like in LA, like against the fence. That was a nasty spill. I'm not gonna lie. It was not like, oh, that's soft, or no, it was a nasty spill. It's just that it's like I forget what movie it was, but just like it's always that like stereotypical guy that always gets unlucky, where he gets hit by a car or he gets stung by a bee, or he goes into relationships then breaks up, all the time. It's just like you feel bad for the guy, and it just he's Chris Bryant's one of those guys, and so I feel bad for him, but yeah, like give Michael Toglia some at bats. He deserves it. I mean, and not to mention, like, he's been ever since he's been called up, he's been playing a lot better. I know the average again is not pretty, but like today, he got like 2 walks, I believe, in a single. And so he's getting on base, and he's getting on base more than he has ever done in his career so far up to this point. So why not give the guy a shot to play first base? Because while Chris Bryant is out, get your playing time in, and that's what the Rockies have been doing. It's not like, oh, we're gonna play these guys, the veteran guys, every single day. And that's another thing. Like, there's some people that are upset that we're giving Jake Cave at bats. Listen, I understand that to a certain degree, but when he's actually one of the best players on your team, and plus when he's, a big voice in your clubhouse and on your team, you kind of need him to play. And Jake Cave defensively has been great. Like we talked about game two's catch. I mean, that was amazing. Like you said, putting your body on the line. I mean, his head made contact with the wall. That was crazy. I first was like, "Oh no, is he injured, or he's going to get a concussion or whatever?" But he's like, "No, I'm good." So yeah, just give Michael Toga his bats. Like we did a short, we did a reel on, we posted on Instagram and YouTube, and our social medias, that we just need to see Toglia and I think Hunter Goodman get more bats. And so and they've been playing well. I mean, it's not like they're playing horribly, but they've been playing up to what we like to see. Maybe not the best we would like to see, but we want to see some more improvement. But they've been holding their own, really. I mean, it's not, again, it's not nothing really to write home about, but we're seeing them play, and that's what we like. So that's just been one of the things that's really stood out to me. Like Toglia, he's been playing a lot better. So yeah, that's just really good to see. As we wrap up tonight's show, the Rockies will be now heading on the road for a road trip before the All-Star break begins. So the Rockies' home games in the first half are done, and we won't have a home game for another week at least. So yeah, the Rockies will be heading to Cincinnati for a 4-game series against the Reds. They've been kind of sputtering a little bit, and then they go to New York and Queens to play the Mets for a 3-game series. And the Rockies, we have a All-Star break, and of course we have the draft on Sunday. So, Tom, any final thoughts as we wrap up tonight's show on the upcoming series against the Reds?
well, they've got the Reds have got In addition, I have a couple first-time All-Stars as well. I'm double checking to see if he's pitching in this series. He is not. Hunter Green is not pitching in this series, but we will see former White Sox Frankie Montas. So I'm interested to see that one. Because you got Feltner, you got Quantrill, and then game 3 is Kyle Freeland, who I am definitely keeping an eye on. I like to see, again, knock on wood there, he gets his 4th consecutive quality start. But again, it's a team that is still, they're kind of sputtering a little bit. The Reds, they're just, I guess you could say from what I'm seeing, they're just not kind of finding any consistency. So maybe we can take advantage of that, like we took advantage of the Royals here and won the series here, and just kind of, I guess you could say, spoil it for teams who are either up there like the Royals or teams that are kind of fluttering a little bit and quote unquote on the bubble, because who knows? I don't think the Reds are going to subtract much or much less add much, because they're one of those teams you could say that are stuck in the middle. One of the worst spots to be in pro sports is in the middle, because if you're at the top, you know where you are. The bottom, you know where you are. In the middle, where are you? You're a buyer or seller. So again, let's see. I just would like to see if the Rockies can take advantage of them in this series and do it on the road. By the way, if you ever can make it out to the Great American Ballpark, it's a good one to see. I've been there. It is a nice atmosphere.
Yeah, and it's really weird because it's just baseball, and the Rockies, they have a above 500 record, I believe, against teams above 500 this year, and the Rockies play worse against teams under 500, and the Reds are, I believe, under 500 or right around 500. So I don't want to wish any bad things on the Rockies, but this series, it tells me that this series might not be too promising as a Rockies fan. But hey, I mean, the Reds, they swept us in Denver. Maybe the Rockies could get some retaliation and get some wins in Cincinnati, win at least 1 or 2. I'd be happy with that. I feel like last year the Rockies had about 34, 35 wins at the All-Star break. That's about where we're going to be at this All-Star break. So you're looking at potentially the same type of year like last year. Last year was bad, but again, it wasn't like horrendous. I mean, yeah, losing 100 games for the first time in franchise history was embarrassing, but it was just like, hey, there's hope on the horizon. So, yeah, as we wrap up tonight's show, again, make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel don't miss next week's live. That'll be the first time we'll be going live and not doing a podcast. So we'll be doing the draft, reacting to the first 5-10 picks. And speaking of the podcast, we're hoping we'd like to do a podcast before the All-Star game, kind of recap the first half, talk about, the draft, maybe even, I don't know. Of course, we might do like a little draft recap for you, kind of give our thoughts on who we'd like to see the Rockies pick, that sort of thing. So expect that probably later this week before the draft, maybe Friday or Saturday, something like that, because Sunday is going to be a pretty big day for us at Rockies Now. So again, make sure you're staying tuned for all that. I think that'll do it tonight, folks. Thank you again for watching tonight's edition of the Rockies recap. Stay tuned for the next Rockies recap for the Cincinnati Reds series. That'll be coming, I believe, on Thursday, right?
Thursday or Friday, because the series ends on Thursday, because I forgot Gomber's pitching the finale.
Yep, there you go. So, yeah, catch us then, and we'll talk to you all later. As always, go Rockies.